Let's talk about dogs. They've stood by our side on countless hunts, tracking down our next meal. They've hauled our heaviest gear across unforgiving landscapes. They've kept a watchful eye over our herds, shielded us from those who wished us harm, and literally pulled us from freezing waters to keep us alive. They've been our ultimate compass in the most brutal, uncharted corners of the earth. Slowly but surely, they cross the threshold, earning a sacred spot right inside our homes. They shower us with unconditional love, offering a deep sense of comfort, and carry us through our darkest, loneliest days when sickness takes hold. They didn't just become our pets, they became our most fiercely loyal allies. But how much do we truly know about them? Where did this incredible journey even begin? How exactly did they weave themselves so deeply into the very fabric of our lives? Modern science is finally peeling back the layers, giving us a clearer picture of our deep-rooted bond with an animal we only thought we had figured out. And honestly, what researchers are uncovering is nothing short of mind-blowing. Without them by our side, human history would look completely different today. This is the epic, untold story of the ultimate pact between humans and dogs, the unbelievable tale of how a wild descendant of the wolf transformed into humanity's absolute greatest companion. Picture this. We are standing out on the vast plains of Eurasia. The clock is dialed back 30,000 years. Back then, two terrifying apex predators completely dominated the steppes: us humans and the wolves. Both groups were actually remarkably similar, living in tight-knit families, incredibly smart, and flawlessly coordinated. And you better believe they kept a very close eye on one another. These were, without a doubt, the most lethal hunting forces on the planet. Early humans even mirrored wolf tactics, relentlessly tracking game for miles upon miles, simply running their targets into pure exhaustion. So, how in the world did these two fierce competitors manage to bridge the gap? After all, they were locked in a constant turf war over the exact same food sources. While the wolves usually steered clear of attacking our ancestors directly, they never hesitated to snatch a hard-earned kill right out from under us. This intense, high-stakes standoff dragged on for literally thousands of years, until one fateful day, when a single wolf decided to break all the rules. Experts picture her as a young, somewhat skittish female, an underdog really. She was likely an outcast, struggling to survive and find her footing within the brutal pack hierarchy, forced to hang back in the shadows, constantly waiting for scraps. But then, she made a wildly daring move. She abandoned her own kind and edged closer to a human camp. That single leap of faith triggered a shockwave that completely rewired human evolution. It was the very spark that gave us the dogs we know today. For generations, we arrogantly assumed that we tamed the wilderness, stealing wolf pups and bending them to our will. But modern science paints a totally different, far more beautiful picture. The truth is, the wolves actually tamed us. And it all started with one hungry, brave soul, lured in by the smell of our cooking fires. Way back when, early humans saw the wolf as a fierce, cunning rival. It was common sense to keep them at arm's length, but that totally ignores their secret weapon: pure, undeniable charm. I mean, think about those big, soulful eyes, and those sweet, whimpering sounds that can melt even the hardest heart. Believe it or not, modern science tells us that is exactly how the legendary bond between man and beast first sparked. A mother wolf could sense trouble brewing way before we ever could. Armed with a superpowered nose and radar-like hearing, she ended up standing guard over our ancestors' hard-earned food supply. That was the very first thing that drew us to them, their incredible knack for sounding the alarm when danger was lurking. And man, that opened up some truly mind-blowing possibilities for us. Slowly but surely, the fearsome, wild predator began to transform. They started living right beside our fires, keeping the monsters in the dark away. They became our ultimate travel buddies, trekking across the ancient world with us. They even kept our campsites spotless by happily gobbling up our leftovers, During brutal times of famine, they tragically became our absolute last resort to avoid starvation. But mostly, they were our living, breathing blankets, keeping us warm through the freezing, bitter nights. For a really long time, the wolf walked a tightrope between the call of the wild and a growing, emotional reliance on human companionship. Obviously, a deep connection like that did not just happen overnight. Pups were born right in our camps. The wild ones eventually bolted back into the forest, but the sweet-natured ones stuck around, raising babies that were even more eager to please. And that beautiful cycle just kept spinning, generation after generation, until an entirely new, incredibly loving creature emerged from the shadows. Our ultimate best friend, the dog. Wandering travelers were absolutely captivated by this amazing partnership, taking dogs with them and spreading this bond from tribe to tribe. Word spread like wildfire across the globe. Humans and wolves could actually strike up a beautiful, lasting alliance. Yet, nobody back then could have ever dreamed just how world-changing this friendship would become. Today, geneticists tell us that every single dog walking this earth, and there are roughly 1 billion of them right now, can actually trace their family tree back to a tiny, exclusive club of gray mother wolves. We are talking maybe 10 individual females, every single one of them, without exception. From the tiniest little Chihuahua to the most massive, slobbering Saint Bernard. From that pivotal moment on, humanity and this transformed wolf teamed up, evolving side by side into a brand new era. Picture it. 20,000 years ago, wolves roamed the entire northern hemisphere, just as the very first dogs began to make their historic debut. Over in Europe, a really primitive kind of dog was taking its first tentative steps. But that specific family tree was not destined to stick around for very long. Meanwhile, deep in Central Asia, the true ancestors of our modern companions were born. At first, they still looked remarkably like the wild hunters they came from. But as they snuggled up closer to humanity, their heavy coats started to change color and lighten up. Their pointy ears and stiff tails started taking on softer, far friendlier shapes. Down south, they developed much shorter hair so they could handle the sweltering heat. And as these adaptable Asian breeds migrated into Europe, they completely took over, eventually replacing those earlier European dogs. Back in Asia, their numbers absolutely exploded as they thrived alongside us. And some brave packs even crossed the ancient land bridge, making their grand entrance into North America. Sure, their bodies were starting to change, but back then, it was strictly nature pulling the strings, shaping them to fit their surroundings. We humans hadn't figured out yet that we held the power to actually rewrite their DNA, simply by choosing which ones would have puppies together. Flash forward 10,000 years, and these incredible creatures are figuring out how to survive in the sweltering heat. They started fanning out, making their way deep into southern Asia and eventually hitting the shores of Australia. Before long, they were putting down roots all the way across the globe, from the heart of Africa to the wild landscapes of South America. Man's best friend was officially riding shotgun on our global journey, right by our side in every corner of the earth. And this beautiful partnership, it was about to completely flip the script on how we lived and permanently alter the trajectory of human history. Because of these loyal companions, our ancestors could finally hang up their hunting spears, settle down, and learn how to farm the land. Picture this: Karnataka, a hidden gem tucked away in rural India, where the fields are bursting with rice harvests all year long. Throw in endless groves of bananas and sprawling peanut farms, and you get the picture. Even right now, today, you can witness the echoes of that ancient bond playing out in real time. It's the exact same dynamic that ultimately saved our species thousands of years ago. Wandering through these local villages are the pariah dogs, a truly ancient breed. They exist right alongside the locals, ghosting through the streets. Yet they aren't exactly invited indoors. They survive on the fringes, scavenging for leftover scraps just to make it through the day. But I want to share the incredible journey of one specific pup. Picture a golden-coated stray sporting two distinctive white socks. He doesn't answer to a name, and he certainly doesn't have a master. Born into the dusty alleyways, White Paws has spent his entire life hustling just to survive out on the streets. Deep down, though, if he had a choice, he'd trade the stray life for a loving home in a heartbeat. Keeping his belly full means he's constantly on high alert, watching for that one lucky break. But out here, every meal is a massive gamble. It's a harsh, unforgiving world where only the absolute toughest make it to tomorrow. He figured out a much smarter way to play the game, though. He realized he needed to crack the code of the ultimate food providers, us, the humans. If you really look at how dogs have transformed over millennia, the most mind-blowing shift isn't physical at all. It's their sheer genius at hacking into human psychology. They just get us. They've spent countless generations studying every tiny micro-expression on our faces. They know instantly who's going to throw a rock and who's going to toss a piece of bread. They can literally read the room, sensing our personalities and decoding our emotional states before we even say a word. For White Paws, memorizing the habits of every single person in town is his literal survival strategy. Every morning, like clockwork, he leaves the dusty village streets behind and heads out into the lush green croplines. He picked up on a really specific pattern with the local farmers a long time ago. He noticed that whenever wild critters came trespassing on the crops, the humans went into full defense mode to drive them away. So, our boy is constantly scanning the horizon, hunting for one very specific threat: the black-faced macaques. They come pouring down the mountainside like an invading army. In a place where farming is literally the only lifeline, the monkey population has completely exploded lately. They run in these massive, organized gangs of 30 or 40. They strike fast, moving with the precision of a tactical SWAT team. They totally blitz the farmlands, devastating everything in their path, ripping through the banana trees, trashing the rice paddies, and stealing coconuts right off the branches. It's an absolute nightmare for thousands of hard-working farmers who are barely keeping their heads above water trying to fight them off. Desperate to save their livelihoods, the locals actually had to form dedicated monkey defense squads just to patrol the borders. But those black-faced intruders, they're incredibly smart, and they don't go down easy. White Paws figured out how to spot them from a mile away, and the second he tracked down a troop, that deep-rooted predator instinct just kicked right into overdrive. Nobody ever taught him how to do this. He just took absolute joy in chasing those monkeys way up into the rugged mountains. That all changed the day a local farmer finally laid eyes on this scruffy yellow dog. White Paws had officially made his presence known, and that was the very first step towards something beautiful. Every time the sun went down, he would sneak back into the village seeking shelter. Because out in the wild, under the cover of darkness, lethal panthers were constantly on the prowl. Every stray out there knows the ultimate truth. Human homes means safety. It means guaranteed meals, gentle pets, and a warm place to sleep. Sadly, our boy wasn't one of the lucky ones allowed inside. Then came that fateful morning. 3 troops of black-headed monkeys rolled in right before sunrise. We're talking well over 100 of them, completely tearing through the main rice paddy. The entire farming community rushed out to defend their crops. But honestly, the monkeys were making it way too obvious. Something just didn't feel right. The farmers were so focused on the coconut trees that they completely missed the real threat. A second squad was raiding the banana grove right behind their backs. And that exact moment is when everything changed for White Paws. He finally earned himself a real home, and even better, he got a name. From that day forward, they called him Ramon. He got regular meals, endless love, and his very own collar. Sure, he traded away some of his wild freedom, but he gained an incredible family. But Ramon's journey is really just a reflection of a much bigger, much older story, one that started 12,000 years ago. Right around the time humanity first figured out how to plant grain, dogs stepped right up to help us guard those precious fields. They chased off every wild creature that tried to steal our wheat, rice, and barley. Whether it was mischievous monkeys or massive grazing herds, like deer, sheep, and wild cattle, our loyal companions kept them at bay. These amazing animals made sure our storehouses were packed tight for the harsh winters. And honestly, that partnership completely altered the course of human history. Way back in Mesopotamia, for the very first time, people actually stopped wandering and built permanent lives around their crops of wild wheat and barley. To keep those crops safe, these early settlers teamed up with huge, powerful dogs, kind of like early mastiffs. This new way of living was incredibly successful. And over just a few thousand years, it laid the groundwork for the world's very first major civilizations. 5,000 years ago in Egypt, society boomed alongside barley and wheat farming, guarded closely by the sleek ancestors of the pharaoh hound. Over in ancient Greece, they built their culture around barley fields, protected by massive Malachian guard dogs. These guys were absolutely fearless, packing the pure muscle needed to take down any thief trying to raid the harvest. In India, thriving rice fields were fiercely defended by loyal pariah dogs. You saw the exact same beautiful partnership blossoming across China and Japan. Down in Central America, the Maya relied heavily on ancient native dogs to protect their sacred cornfields. And the mighty Roman Empire? It was built on the back of sprawling wheat fields, all heavily guarded by ancient mastiffs. We humans finally started to grasp just how powerful this bond truly was. So, we started selectively breeding these amazing companions, creating the very first specific dog breeds. Take the Maltese, for example. They were specifically bred to be fierce little rat hunters, keeping the bustling Mediterranean seaports completely rodent-free. But these amazing creatures didn't just work for us. They completely captured our hearts. Picture this: a majestic pup actually becoming the absolute favorite companion of the mighty Roman Emperor Claudius. These incredible animals were right there in the trenches with us, literally helping build human civilization from the ground up. Yet, nobody could have ever predicted the wild direction this historic partnership was about to take. Thanks to our four-legged best friends, humanity was on the edge of another massive revolution. We were about to master the incredible art of animal domestication. For more than 20,000 years, dogs were our fearless hunters, aggressively chasing wild beasts away from our camps. And then, out of nowhere, we decided it might actually be a brilliant idea to keep a few wild goats alive right in our own backyards. Humans suddenly transitioned into shepherds, and we asked our fierce hunting dogs to become full-time guardians of our flocks. Think about that for a second. Apex predators actively protecting their natural prey? How in the world does that even work? How did the direct descendants of wild wolves transform into loving protectors of the very creatures their DNA told them to hunt and eat? Well, early humans figured out an unbelievably effective method to rewrite nature. It is a profound training technique that has totally survived the test of time, still being used right this very second, out in the breathtaking, sweeping steppes of Mongolia. Let me tell you the incredible story of a native Mongolian pup. His name is Jiri. Today, Jiri is the absolute king of the hills, fiercely guarding a massive herd against any roaming wolf packs. His raw muscle and unwavering loyalty make him the ultimate livestock guardian. This dog is a total powerhouse. He has single-handedly taken down more than 10 wolves. His legendary reputation as an unyielding protector echoes way beyond those snowy mountain peaks. But, he certainly wasn't always this fearless warrior. Jiri started his demanding journey as a herd dog exactly 10 years ago. Picture him at just 2 months old, newly separated from his mother's comforting warmth. It's a heartbreaking moment, but an absolutely vital step in his journey. Every natural instinct in his tiny body is screaming at him to viciously guard his food. And that is exactly the wild nature his human family needs to completely rewrite. Lesson number 1 for the little guy. Never, ever snap at the hand that brings you dinner. That day, 2 complete strangers walked right up and scooped the puppy away. They carried him far, far away from everything he had ever known. You can just see the confusion in his eyes, wondering where his littermates disappeared to. Like any baby, he is absolutely desperate for love, warmth, and comfort. So, in this beautiful twist of fate, he adopts the towering humans around him as his brand new family. But then comes the absolute hardest challenge of all. Dealing with what his DNA tells him is dinner. Sweet, helpless, little baby lambs. Basically, the ultimate temptation for a growing carnivore. Yet, he is strictly forbidden from even laying a single tooth on them. It is pure, absolute agony for the little pup. He has to endure this agonizing test every single day, for weeks on end. Now, facing the fully grown livestock, well, that's a whole different ballgame. The old black goat in the herd knows exactly what kind of beast is staring back at him. He smells a young, dangerous, and unpredictable predator. And there is zero chance he wants that pup hanging around his turf. That grumpy old goat is about to become Jerry's absolute worst nightmare. In the meantime, the little guy just has to tough it out, learn the ropes, and get used to smelling like goat poop. It was a clever little trick the humans played, just to get the flock to welcome him in. Day by day, it clicks for Jerry. He watches his 2-legged family, seeing how deeply they care for these animals. So, he jumps right in, mirroring their every move, making their life's work his own. Then comes the night a wolf strikes, and he feels the sheer anger radiating from his humans. That heavy, musky scent of a wild predator, his people absolutely despise it. And right then and there, Jerry learns his first real rule of survival. The wolf is the ultimate enemy. But when the pasture is quiet and the sheep are grazing peacefully, his humans are visibly relieved. And honestly, seeing them happy is all he really cares about. At the end of the day, this dog's deepest desire is simply to make his people proud and soak up all the belly rubs and praise they have to offer. He becomes a master observer, studying their faces and habits to figure out exactly what brings a smile to their faces. He figures out pretty quick that when they hold their special gatherings, his job is just to sit quietly. And when they tie those silly, colorful ribbons around his neck, he knows it's best to just roll with it. His humans can come up with the craziest traditions, and he'll gladly play along, as long as it earns him a gentle pat on the head. That is pure joy for Jerry. Fast forward to when he hits 6 months old, and the training wheels come off. A whole new set of trials is waiting to forge him into a true working dog. His newest, heaviest responsibility? Standing guard in the dead of night, while his humans get some much-needed sleep. The second a shadow shifts or danger creeps in from the dark, it is on him to sound the alarm and wake the family. This right here is one of the most incredible, almost magical things about our canine companions. Over thousands of years, they actually developed a voice, a distinct bark just to bridge the gap and talk to us. It is a unique language you will never hear out in a wild wolf pack. Now, Jerry is stepping up to learn the absolute toughest part of the gig. It is time for his very first big migration, guiding the animals toward fresh, green pastures out by the salt lakes. Gone are the safe fences and cozy pens. It is just wide open wilderness, with hundreds of vulnerable sheep and goats relying entirely on him. Yes, even that stubborn old black billy goat. His job is to become the ultimate living fence, keeping the massive herd glued together as a single unit. He has to sprint out and round up the brave ones trying to wander off, give a gentle nudge to the lazy ones dragging their hooves, and keep a sharp eye out. He must be constantly vigilant, a tireless protector standing between his flock and the wild. But for all that exhausting, selfless work, Jerry gets the ultimate payoff. He earns the deep, unspoken respect and profound love of his pack leader, his human. It is a beautiful, silent pact that has bound shepherds and their loyal dogs together since the dawn of time. He has finally earned their absolute trust. Even when the humans are nowhere in sight, he can confidently lead the herd on his own. Deep inside him, ancient urges to hunt and kill have been totally rewired into a fierce, unwavering drive to protect. And the flock senses it too. They have fully embraced him as one of their own. Heck, even that grumpy black goat respects his authority now. That is the story of how a playful pup transformed into an absolute master of the pastures. He is family now, which means everything that belongs to the humans belongs to him. When the brutal winter rolls in, there are times he spends weeks out in the freezing cold, totally alone, with barely a scrap of food. In those extreme life-or-death moments, the unspoken rule changes, and he is allowed to take one of the animals from the herd to survive. Let's just say nobody really minds if it happens to be a certain black billy goat. Looking at the bigger picture, humanity's ancient partnership with dogs was the real game changer that let us tame the wild world, unlocking unimaginable leaps forward for our ancestors. Suddenly, we had a steady, guaranteed food supply right at our fingertips. We gained endless, rich fertilizer to make our crops explode with life. Not to mention warm wool and sturdy leather for surviving the elements, carved bones to tip our hunting arrows, and rich fat to keep our candles burning through the dark nights. As the centuries rolled by, our ancestors began gathering a whole menagerie of creatures to live right alongside us. And our loyal canine companions stepped up to be their ultimate protectors. They took on this guardian role all across the globe. Picture this. 10,000 years ago, in the ancient Near East, dogs were already keeping watchful eyes over the very first domesticated goats. Fast forward a bit, and they were looking after flocks of sheep across the sprawling plains of Persia. Right around that same time period, folks over in China were figuring out how to tame wild pigs. Next came the mighty herds of cattle roaming through India and the Middle East. And then, roughly 6,000 years back, humans began riding horses through the steppes of Central Asia and the rugged terrain of Spain. Not long after, about 5,000 years ago, communities in Peru started raising llamas high up in the Andes. And guess who was there every single time? Our dogs, standing tall as the fearless sentinels of the pastures. Just before the dawn of the Common Era, the ancient Romans actually bred the granddaddy of the modern Rottweiler. These massive, muscular dogs were tasked with marching alongside the livestock that kept the mighty imperial army fed. It wasn't until the 19th century that we really started seeing the classic breeds we all know and love today popping up. Think of the noble German Shepherd, or the brilliantly sharp Border Collie, moving entire flocks with practically a single glance. Then you've got the fluffy Shetland Sheepdog, and those sturdy Swiss Mountain Dogs. Not to mention the athletic Belgian Malinois, and the rugged Pyrenean Shepherd. In more recent times, we've even figured out a heartwarming way for these pups to literally be adopted into a completely different species family. Take the Great Pyrenees, for example. Breeders actually raise these giant fluffballs right alongside newborn lambs from day one. By the time they hit 8 weeks old, these little guys are dropped right into the middle of the flock to live on their own. Cut off from human interaction, the puppy naturally turns to the sheep, bonding with them deeply and claiming the flock as its true pack. Those sheep essentially become its literal brothers and sisters, creating a bond that is absolutely unbreakable. Now, while some of our four-legged friends were settling into life as livestock guardians, another group was busy tapping into their primal hunting instincts to help us put food on the table. But to really grasp this, we have to rewind the clock back to the very beginning. Since the dawn of time, humans have watched in awe, knowing full well that wolves are some of the most fearsome predators out there. Our ancestors witnessed their raw, untamed power firsthand. We even studied their tactical brilliance and adopted their hunting strategies for ourselves. Yet, The real secret to a wolf's lethal efficiency boils down to just one core strength: the undeniable power of the pack. So, what did we do? We went ahead and built our own unstoppable canine squads. We raised dogs that were deeply loyal to us, but could instantly flip the switch and become a highly coordinated, fierce hunting unit. Sweet, affectionate pets at home that knew exactly how to unleash their inner wild wolf out in the field. It really makes you wonder, how on earth did we manage to forge such an incredible, deeply trusting partnership? To truly wrap our heads around it, let me share the unforgettable journey of one very special pup. He's a classic black and tan coonhound, bred for the chase. His name is Forban. Just like every hound of his breed, he sports those expressive, light-colored markings above his eyes that make him look like he's always thinking. When he was just 8 weeks old, little Forban was dropped right into a litter of tricolor hounds. He was suddenly surrounded by 5 adopted siblings, who were all older, way tougher, and significantly heavier than he was. Now, unlike your typical house pet, pack hounds are wired to live together 24/7 for their entire lives, exactly like a wild wolf pack. Sure, their human handlers provide their meals and keep them healthy, but there's a strict boundary: these dogs aren't treated like cuddly indoor babies. For young Forban, the pack isn't just a group of dogs, they are his entire universe. He has to learn the hard way how to respect their primal, unwritten rules. But imagine the struggle. How do you find your footing in a tight-knit squad when you're constantly the runt of the litter? That exact challenge is what shaped every single moment of Forban's extraordinary life. Forban just hit the 2-year mark, and today is the day everything changes. It's time for him to join the main pack. And trust me, there is zero room for error. We are talking about a tight-knit family of around 100 dogs who have been running side by side for years. Being the new kid on the block, flying under the radar just is not an option for our boy. Every single member of that massive crew swarms in, eager to catch his scent and figure out exactly who this rookie is. The tension in the air is incredibly thick. It is an absolute make-or-break moment. He has to read the room instantly, spotting the heavy hitters who might be looking for a fight. He has got to keep his cool, completely ignoring their warning growls and aggressive posturing. But he cannot just roll over and show his belly either. Showing that kind of weakness is practically an invitation for them to gang up on him. It is a beautiful, delicate dance of standing his ground without ever crossing the line into a brawl. One tiny misstep, just one wrong move, and he is going to walk away with some serious battle scars. When dinner time rolls around, it is absolute chaos, as every dog fiercely competes for the first bite. But Forban is smart. He learned the unspoken rules of this world when he was just a pup, so he patiently hangs back, letting the elders eat their fill first. Playing it safe like that is honestly his best survival strategy right now. He willingly accepts his role at the bottom of the ladder, keeping his head down and his mouth shut. And as you can probably imagine, living on the fringes of that bustling canine family is a pretty lonely and demanding spot to be in. Fast forward to the night before a huge hunt, and you can truly feel that ancient, unspoken bond as the master carefully selects his absolute best trackers. Not every dog is going to make the cut to run through the wild tomorrow. Forban can literally feel the electricity radiating through the kennel. He knows something massive is on the horizon. Up until now, he has never been trusted to run free alongside the seasoned veterans of the pack. But today is different. Today is the day that raw, untamed spirit, buried deep inside his DNA, finally gets the chance to wake up and truly howl. With wild wolf blood still pulsing through his veins, the raw thrill of the chase unlocks a breathtaking level of cunning, razor-sharp instincts, and pure brilliance. He does not need to be taught how to hunt. His nose naturally drops to the dirt, reading the forest floor like a deeply familiar map. He locks onto that faint, earthy trail left behind by their elusive target. The only problem? The massive wild boar they are after has already got a huge head start. Moving like a beautifully orchestrated machine, the dogs fan out across the thick brush, casting a massive net to catch even the faintest whiff of a scent. But the boar is no easy target. That old beast knows exactly what kind of danger is coming. He is fully aware that a fiercely loyal canine army is hot on his trail, and he has a few brilliant, sneaky tricks up his sleeve to completely throw the hounds off track. The clever animal deliberately seeks out a herd of other pigs, literally brushing shoulders with them to scramble his scent profile into a confusing, chaotic mess. It is incredible to watch Forban seamlessly click into that deeply rooted rhythm of teamwork, pulling his weight right alongside his human and canine brothers. If they can just manage to outsmart that tricky hog, they will close the gap and run him down before the sun ever sets. Yet, right in the middle of all this heart-pounding adrenaline, something even deeper starts pulling at Forban's soul. A quiet whisper from the wild is echoing in his mind, urging him to walk away from his found family. He feels an overwhelming, magnetic pull to vanish into the deep woods and never look back. You really have to wonder what makes a deeply loyal dog just up and leave the only home he has ever known. It all boils down to a primal drive passed down through thousands of generations of wild ancestors. When a young male just cannot seem to carve out his own space among the family he grew up with, he bravely strikes out into the unknown. He wanders out into the vast wilderness, holding on to the hope of finding a brand new tribe to call his own. The harsh reality is, out here, in this endless, sprawling forest, where on earth is he going to find them? As dawn breaks the next morning, a sharp, aching emptiness in his belly jolts him awake. A part of him must be asking, should I just tuck my tail and head back to the guaranteed warmth and safety of the humans? But his fierce pride takes over. He commits to making it out here, totally determined to hunt down his own breakfast. Sadly, the wilderness is wildly unforgiving, and he comes up completely empty. The call of the pack. For days on end, Forban roamed the deep woods, desperately searching for a wild family that simply wasn't out there. He scoured the terrain for a meal he just couldn't track down. Sure, he had the stamina to survive a little while longer on an empty stomach, but the real question was, how long could his spirit endure that crushing isolation? You see, dogs are deeply social creatures. They were never meant to walk this earth completely alone. They crave connection deep within their bones. Ultimately, Forban made his choice, and his human completely understood where he would end up. He certainly wasn't the first pup to try roughing it in the wild. The ones who wander off almost always find their way back home to us. Forban's journey really sheds light on how we first joined forces with these amazing animals to hunt side by side. Early humans simply tapped into that ancient wolf spirit still echoing inside them. But make no mistake, he is no longer a wild wolf. His soul is forever intertwined with ours, even when the call of the wild occasionally whispers his name. Way back in the mists of time, long before firearms were ever a thought, hunting with a pack of hounds was an absolute revolution for tracking down every kind of game imaginable. With a dog by our side, our hunting success rates essentially doubled overnight. Suddenly, we were bringing home enough food to sustain entire tribes and growing villages. It was a colossal advantage for mankind, and we truly owe that blessing to our dogs. Because of them, humanity actually survived the brutal, freezing winters of the Ice Age, when meat became our only shot at survival. They helped us take down massive beasts, allowing us to stockpile enough food to make it through. This primal hunting partnership ultimately sparked the creation of so many of the breeds we know today. By cherry-picking their best traits and breeding the absolute top performers, we engineered specialized four-legged experts tailored for every conceivable kind of prey. Up in North America, rugged fishermen developed the Labrador, phenomenal swimmers, trained to retrieve fish right out of the icy waters. Today, of course, they are one of the most beloved family pets on the planet. Scottish coal miners bred the brave little Yorkshire Terrier to clear out rats deep underground. But with their massive hearts, they have traded those dirty minds for comfy spots on fancy living room couches. Reverend John Russell brought us the Jack Russell Terrier, a fearless, short-legged dynamo perfectly built for diving straight into tight foxholes. Over in France, the poodle was actually created to be a rugged duck hunter. Their thick, waterproof coats made them totally at home in the wet marshlands. In Germany, the fearless dachshund was bred to flush angry badgers right out of their underground dens. They are wicked smart, and let's be honest, they can easily end up running the entire household. Meanwhile, Russia gave us the Borzoi, a powerhouse of a hound designed to hunt down wolves and bears. The ancient Babylonians developed the ancestors of the Great Dane to battle wild boars. Today, that fierce hunter has evolved into a total gentle giant. In the Middle East, lightning-fast sighthounds, like the Saluki, the Afghan, and the Slaufy, were born to chase down desert hares. They became the ultimate, loyal hunting companions for nomadic tribes crossing the dunes. Over in China, the proud Chow Chow was brought into the world specifically to hunt wolves. And in Japan, the Shiba Inu was perfected for flushing out rabbits and wild birds. Now, they hold the proud title of Japan's absolute favorite furry companion. Terriers, scent hounds, pointers, retrievers, an amazing explosion of high-performance breeds, each masterfully designed for a specific kind of hunt. Eventually, humanity realized we could push these incredible natural talents even further. And the first thing we leveled up? That incredible, unparalleled sense of smell. Just picture a dog's snout as this incredibly long, wet vacuum cleaner leading straight into a massive, highly complex scent processing center. We are talking about 300 million nerve cells, perfectly tuned to pick apart an endless sea of smells. To put that in perspective, us humans barely scrape by with 5 million. And backing up that incredible hardware is a brain designed to memorize every single scent combination on Earth. So when it comes to sniffing things out, these pups are basically born geniuses. But even among these natural-born trackers, there is one undisputed heavyweight champion, an absolute legend in the canine world, recognized no matter where you go. The story goes that this breed first appeared centuries ago, raised by monks in a medieval Belgian abbey. Packing a world-class snout that simply leaves the competition in the dust, this guy is the ultimate four-legged detective. I am talking about the iconic Bloodhound. Now, meet a very special hound named Lux. He works alongside his human partner, John, a dedicated wildlife ranger. For the past 6 years, this unbreakable duo has been standing guard over the Old Paheta Conservancy, a breathtaking Kenyan wildlife sanctuary. Today, that protected land is a safe haven for hundreds of elephants, plus a handful of Africa's last remaining rhinos. But these beautiful creatures carry a deadly curse. They literally wear a fortune on their faces. That makes them massive, walking targets for illegal hunters. Over the years, ruthless criminal networks have slaughtered thousands of animals right here, often slipping away into the shadows. These crews are absolutely brutal, gunning down majestic beasts and hacking away at them just to harvest the ivory that fetches a massive payday over in China. But over his 6-year shift, Lux has successfully hunted down dozens of these poachers. Age is finally catching up to him, though, and it is time for the tired old boy to pass the torch. To mark his retirement, John has set up one last massive, high-stakes tracking operation. Everything kicked off just as the sun went down on October 25th. 8 hours later, Lux hit the ground running. The escaping suspects dropped invisible scent markers all over the dirt, giving the hound a perfect baseline. A dog like Lux can lock onto a trail that has been sitting cold for 4 solid days. So an 8-hour head start? To him, it smells like they walked by a minute ago. He is the absolute point man for this tactical squad, and every single team member is trusting his nose to lead the way. Bringing up the rear is a young female pup, keeping her eyes glued to his every move. Her name is Sufi, the freshest recruit joining the tracking pack. She is soaking in every detail, learning the ropes just by watching the master at work. And that is exactly what this final mission is all about for Lux. He is mentoring Sufi, shaping her up so she can fill his shoes when he retires. Once he catches a scent, the rest of the world fades out. He is completely zoned in, blind and deaf to any distractions. Those massive floppy ears act like a fan, sweeping those invisible scent trails right up into his snout. He has a relentless spirit, pushing forward on a trail until his body literally cannot take another step. Sometimes, these grueling pursuits can stretch on for days at a time. Through it all, Sufi stays right behind him, intensely studying his technique without blinking. But they aren't alone out there. The squad also brought along Diego, a fierce Belgian Malinois. Trust me, you definitely want to stay on this guy's good side. Diego is highly trained for apprehension and taking down hostile targets. When the tracking is over, he is usually the muscle who steps in to finish the job. As Lux pushes ahead, he isn't just sniffing dirt. He is tracing an invisible, brilliantly colored roadmap that only he can see. Picture an invisible web of scents out there, thousands of them, weaving together in a chaotic burst of invisible colors. But right now, Lux is staring down the one thing every tracking dog absolutely hates: a rushing river. This is where Sufi steps up to learn one of the toughest, most frustrating lessons in the tracking game. You see, water acts like a magic eraser for scents. The trail literally washes away, snatched up and swallowed by the current. The only move left is to scout the opposite bank and pray you spot exactly where the guy scrambled out. They've pounded the dirt for nearly 40 miles now, baking under a brutal 104-degree sun. The old boy is completely tapped out. So, the torch passes to Sufi. This right here is her very first real-world deployment. You can actually watch her brain work as she breaks down the microscopic scent particles, locking that specific profile deep into her memory bank. It's basically a superpower, like they are literally staring backward in time. And just like that, the hunt is back on. Our guy definitely blew through here. But this time, he dropped a different kind of clue. A drop of blood. To a dog, that's better than a fingerprint. It's an undeniable, one-of-a-kind chemical barcode. But the universe loves throwing a curveball, right? The runner just hopped on a dirt bike and took off, which means the scent from his boots is suddenly completely gone. That's when that tiny drop of blood saves the entire mission. Sufi recalibrates her internal compass in a split second, locking on to the new target. She knows they are closing in on him fast. Her rookie days are officially behind her. She has proven she has what it takes, giving our veteran Lux the chance to finally hang up his leash. He might be retiring to a comfy couch, but the legacy he leaves in the bush is nothing short of legendary. Out here at the Old Pajetta Conservancy, illegal hunting has plummeted by over 80%, and that is almost entirely thanks to him and his handler, Diego. It is mind-blowing when you realize just how formidable these hounds are. They are literally standing between entire species and total extinction. The majestic elephants roaming this land can finally rest easy tonight. This incredibly deep partnership goes way back. Roughly 10,000 years ago, our ancestors realized they could harness the raw power and boundless stamina of these animals for transportation. That realization sparked a revolution in the freezing plains of Siberia, the invention of dog sledding, humanity's very first high-speed transit system. These absolute powerhouses could easily tear through over 60 miles of tundra in a single day, biologically adapting to drop the temperature in their paws and snouts right down to freezing just to survive. Those ancient canine marathoners were the ultimate game changer, allowing human tribes and their cargo to conquer massive, unforgiving landscapes. Our entire world opened up, but the story of our bond definitely didn't stop there. Some of these incredible creatures stepped up to become literal guardian angels. Fast forward to today, and you'll find them pulling climbers out of avalanches, battling fierce ocean waves, or digging through the devastating rubble of a massive earthquake. These are the elite search and rescue units. But what gets to me the most is why they do it. The driving force is always exactly the same. It's that pure, unconditional desire to make us happy, to just be by our side. They gladly offer up their incredible senses, pushing their bodies past the limit, using their ability to pierce through the darkest nights, and showing a kind of bravery that frankly leaves you speechless. Although, as our relationship evolved, we've also steered them into environments that are light years away from anything a wolf's ancestor could have ever imagined. For a long time, we viewed these incredible creatures as little more than living tools. And honestly, that mindset is exactly where our bond started to get incredibly complicated. It is 6 in the morning. The sun barely peeking over the horizon, somewhere deep in the rugged terrain of eastern Cambodia. Heading out for her daily shift is Jelig, a sharp, 6-year-old Belgian Malinois with a heart of gold. You could call her a seasoned veteran in a fiercely dangerous trade. Every single skill she knows was patiently taught to her by her human handler and devoted partner, Knive. For years, this remarkable duo has taken on a monumental, terrifying mission, purging the earth of the deadly landmines and unexploded ordnance still poisoning the landscape. We are talking about 4 million hidden landmines and 26 million dormant bombs lying silently beneath the dirt, all scattered across a nation whose population is rapidly expanding. Thousands of families are unknowingly building their new lives right on top of these incredibly lethal minefields. Just this morning, the brave pair received a frantic emergency dispatch. A local farmer stumbled upon a piece of cluster shrapnel out in his fields. And the terrifying reality of this job is that where there is one piece of explosive, a deadly nest of others is absolutely lurking nearby. Jelig does not need to be told twice. She knows her life-saving duty inside and out. In her eager mind, sniffing out that lethal buried treasure might just earn her a tasty treat. Or better yet, she might finally get the chance to play her favorite game with Knive. Setting up a proper safety zone here is nearly impossible, making every single step they take a terrifying gamble with their lives. Her incredible nose is fine-tuned to catch the faintest, ghostly trace of deadly chemicals hidden in the soil. Suddenly, she catches a scent. It is buried incredibly deep down in the muddy earth. Astonishingly, Jelig can zero in on an explosive buried nearly 20 feet below the surface. She drops into a frozen, perfectly still sit. That is her chilling alert that death is right beneath her paws. Knive reads her partner's body language instantly. The sweet Malinois looks up, desperately hoping for a little praise or a treat. But strict protocol shuts that down immediately. There is absolutely no playing around while they are in the red zone. 40 years ago, a massive airstrike scattered these devastating munitions across a blast radius spanning hundreds of feet. Those deadly remnants sank deep into the waterlogged dirt back then, but the shifting earth is slowly pushing them right back up to the surface. Just a few paces away, the dog locks onto another scent. This one is sitting terrifyingly close to the topsoil. One wrong move could be fatal. The cruelest part about these specific explosives is that they look exactly like harmless little playthings. Innocent kids spot them, think they have found a new toy, and that simple curiosity often ends in unimaginable tragedy. Over the span of their grueling career together, the unbreakable bond and seamless teamwork between Knive and Jelig has undoubtedly spared hundreds of innocent people from losing their lives or suffering devastating, life-altering injuries. It is incredibly easy to grasp why a human like Knive takes on this heroic burden. But what is driving her canine companion to risk her life every day? Ever since she was just a clumsy pup, Jelig's entire world has revolved around relentlessly tracking down toxic, buried chemicals. Back in the academy, every single successful find was immediately celebrated with joyous cheers and her favorite toys. But the harsh reality of the actual battlefield strips all that joy away. Out here in the danger zone, the comforting treats and playful praise completely vanish. The emotional toll becomes too heavy, and you can see the light fading in Jelig's eyes as she begins to shut down. She simply refuses to keep sniffing. It is severe, heartbreaking canine burnout. Her spirit is completely shattered, and she just cannot push forward anymore. Watching her partner collapse emotionally, Knive feels a pit in her stomach because she knows exactly what comes next. If this brilliant dog cannot perform her critical duties, she will be permanently stripped away from her beloved handler. In a life-or-death industry like this, there is simply zero leeway to pause the mission and let a traumatized, depressed dog heal her psychological wounds. In a heartbreaking transition, Jellig is swapped out for a much younger pup, one whose innocence is still intact and who is practically bursting with naive, eager energy for the job. Whenever we start treating these incredible animals like mere tools, the magic between us just completely falls apart. If we forget to pour love and attention into that emotional connection, the fire inside them goes out, and they lose their entire sense of purpose. So, where does that leave a dog like Jellig? Finding landmines is a high-stakes job that demands absolutely 100% focus. Her handler, Niv, knows he has to find a way to reignite that spark inside her. But how exactly do you breathe life back into that ancient partnership between human and hound? Honestly, the answer is as beautiful as it is incredibly simple. It's about carving out the time, getting down on their level to play, or just existing in the quiet moments, sitting side by side doing absolutely nothing, but being totally present for each other. It's all about feeding that deep-rooted connection we have shared for thousands of years. This profound friendship simply can't survive if it's a one-way street. But when a pup genuinely feels needed and is showered with real affection in return, they'll turn around and perform absolute miracles for us. And perhaps the greatest miracle of all is their ability to mend a shattered human soul. Our reality looks vastly different today than when we first befriended the wolf. The human population has exploded, yet somehow, we've never been so profoundly lonely. Folks battling severe mental health struggles often end up trapped on an island of their own isolation. Traditionally, we lean on heavy therapy sessions and a whole lot of medication to ease that burden. But lately, we've tapped into an incredible new lifeline: the healing power of dogs. I want to share a deeply moving story about how a spirited young pup named Rue helped mend a woman whose spirit was broken by life's hardships. This incredible animal literally pulled Brittany from the dark depths of extreme trauma. This is the remarkable journey of how they saved each other. The whole thing kicks off about 12 months prior. We are back at the very start of training, and little Rue is just a tiny ball of fur at 5 weeks old. She's learning to steady those clumsy paws, trying her hardest not to take a tumble. The gentle tone of her trainer wraps around her like a warm blanket. Oh, there goes her footing, but nope. A strong hand is right there to catch her. It's all about slowing down and letting her figure out the world at her own pace. He speaks softly, letting her know there is absolutely no rush. With every step, you can see Rue's brave little spirit growing. And trust me, she's going to need every ounce of that courage. Fast forward to 10 months of age, and she's fully dialed in and ready for her mission. There's a young woman out there desperately waiting for her arrival. The absolute second those soulful puppy eyes lock onto hers, you can feel the heavy atmosphere lift in the room. You can see Brittany's guarded heart physically melting away. On a purely biological level, her brain gets flooded with a massive hit of oxytocin the instant they connect. That's the legendary love hormone we share with our canine best friends. And it's the ultimate glue for building deep trust. Just holding that steady, loving gaze sends those chemical levels through the roof, wrapping us both in an incredible sense of joy and belonging. The craziest part? The dog totally feels it too, pumping out their very own wave of that same feel-good chemical. It becomes an endless, beautiful loop of mutual affection. And just like that, an unbreakable, lifelong tether is forged. Now, the circumstances that brought Brittany to Rue's doorstep are heartbreakingly grim. While serving in her unit with the Canadian Armed Forces, she went through a devastating nightmare that slammed the door between her and the rest of humanity. Ever since that awful day, she's completely isolated herself, shutting out the rest of the world. Now, Rue might not grasp the full story of that past trauma, but this incredibly intuitive pup reads every single micro-expression on Brittany's face. She sees the raw agony, the lingering terror, and the crushing guilt. The dog absolutely absorbs her human's inner turmoil. Yet, at the end of the day, she's still just a sweet animal hoping for her next meal, and always looking for a warm, loving scratch behind the ears. But when she looks at this fragile young woman, she senses an overwhelming ocean of pure anxiety. Brittany lives in a constant state of hypervigilance, terrified of another attack. It's gotten so bad that she barricades the doors day and night, stashing weapons all over the house, desperately trying to keep the outside world at bay. That's the beautiful thing about dogs, though they offer absolute unconditional acceptance without a hint of judgment. Rue simply takes it all in, acting as a quiet emotional sponge. You have to wonder, though, just how deep does this ancient connection really go? Is she lying there in the dark, tuning into the rhythm of Brittany's night terrors? Let's head back to the training grounds, where they're facing their very first obstacle. The goal here is for Rue to balance perfectly on top of some ordinary tin cans. For the dog, it's a piece of cake. She just needs to keep a cool head. But Brittany is absolutely panicking, completely terrified that she's going to let her partner fall. That intense nervous energy travels straight down the leash, right into the dog. This entire drill is specifically designed to force the young woman to rein in her own spiraling emotions. The moment she takes a deep breath and centers herself, Rue instantly relaxes, and they nail the task together. That right there is a massive breakthrough for Brittany. But challenge number 2 kicks things up a notch. She has to navigate across a terrifyingly high gap just to reunite with her loyal companion. Staring down into that steep drop, all of Brittany's deepest paranoias come rushing right back to the surface. She completely freezes in place. Rue can instantly feel the heavy weight of her human's crushing defeat. Meanwhile, the pup is practically buzzing with energy, eager to shake off the tension with a good play session. Because day in and day out, this dog relies on her for the basics: food, walks, belly rubs, and fetch. These beautifully simple, everyday routines force Brittany to step outside her own head and care for another living soul. It's the exact lifeline she needs to stay tethered to reality. Sensing her mom's hesitation, Rue bravely steps out onto that narrow beam herself, risking the scary drop. She is literally leading by example, paving the way forward. In that beautiful moment, the dog steps up as the protector, gently guiding her human through the fear. It proves that with her furry best friend by her side, Brittany is capable of conquering anything. As the weeks roll by, those dark, paralyzing thoughts slowly begin to fade away. You can actually see Brittany reclaiming her inner power. Her fiercely loyal dog stands guard, deeply attuned to every single vulnerability, keeping an unbreakable, loving watch over her 24/7. She is her ultimate safe space. Science actually backs up what dog lovers have known for thousands of years. These amazing creatures literally heal our bodies and minds. Just having them near us naturally drops our heart rate, knocks down blood pressure, and floods our brains with joy. They wrap us in this incredible blanket of pure comfort and security. And honestly, so much of that magic comes straight from their boundless, beautiful patience. This is it, the ultimate hurdle. The walkway challenged the absolute end of the line. The mission is straightforward but terrifying. Make it to the other side, suspended high above, a sheer drop. Rue feels incredibly vulnerable up there, but she allows herself to be guided. She completely surrenders her own fears, putting total faith in the young woman leading her. And for Brittany, it's the first time in forever that she feels a genuine sense of responsibility, and she steps up to the plate. You can see her confidence coming back to life. She is finally learning how to love herself again. This kind of groundbreaking experimental therapy is already turning out some absolutely mind-blowing results. In just a matter of weeks, Rue has helped Brittany break out of her shell and step back into a practically normal social life. Every single day, science is uncovering something brand new about just how deeply dogs can heal us. The bond we share with these animals goes so much deeper than anyone ever really understood. Their capacity to empathize, to just sit with us in our pain and bring comfort, is staggering. They are companions possessing an absolute, awe-inspiring emotional strength. What Rue and Brittany have built together is a profound, two-way street of unconditional love. It's the kind of unbreakable connection that makes looking into the future feel okay again, filling the days ahead with genuine hope and a sense of peace. We are really just scratching the surface of what these amazing animals can do in the world of therapy. You are seeing them more and more in hospital wards, stepping right into the role of dedicated healthcare assistants. The emotional lifelines they throw to struggling patients are truly priceless. And honestly, we have so much left to learn about this ancient, magical partnership. Take the incredible story of Achi and Owen, for example, a tale that completely redefines what we know about resilience. It all started on a freezing winter evening, just outside the city limits of London. A helpless dog had been tied to the train tracks in the dead of night. Someone had deliberately left him there to die. He was just a little guy, a male pup, barely 6 months old. His tiny body was already shattered in multiple places from severe, heartbreaking abuse. On top of all that, he suffered a catastrophic injury when the train actually struck him. To save his life, vets had to rush the giant pup into massive emergency surgery. A local rescue group eventually scooped him up, giving him a fresh start and a new name, Achi. But they were left wondering, how do you even begin to reach a dog carrying this much trauma? Could an animal who had seen the absolute worst of humanity ever learn to trust a person again? And honestly, who would even be willing to take on such a heartbreaking challenge? Desperate for a miracle, the rescue posted his picture online. Right around that time, there was a young boy named Owen. He was battling a rare disease and facing a crushing new hurdle. A recent growth spurt had dramatically altered the shape of his face. And kids at school can be incredibly cruel. They were relentlessly bullying him over his appearance. When Owen's family stumbled across that online post about Achi, a wild idea sparked. What if they brought these two broken souls together? It was a massive gamble. Achi was a huge dog weighing twice as much as Little. Owen and his only experience with humans had been pure torture. Could a dog with a past like that truly be gentle? But the very second they met, Achi instantly sensed the little boy's vulnerability. He completely softened his giant frame, moving with incredible care so he wouldn't accidentally knock the kid over. It was like absolute magic. This huge, wounded animal immediately stepped into the role of Owen's protector and best friend. Having Achi by his side brought the sunshine right back into Owen's life, and being loved by a little boy gave that sweet dog a brand new reason to live. How does a dog, beaten down and left for dead, turn around in a heartbeat and pour all its love into a little kid it's never even met? The journey of Achi and Owen reveals something profound and, honestly, a little heartbreaking. Even after experiencing the absolute worst sides of humanity, a dog will still choose to trust us. They still love us unconditionally, their whole world lighting up at just the tiniest scrap of kindness. Dogs stepped into our world way back when we were just restless wanderers, surviving as hunters and gatherers. In a lot of ways, they were kindred spirits. They completely won our hearts, and we carved out a permanent spot for them right by our fireside. They stood watch over our early crops, giving us the chance to safely stockpile our harvests. Because of them, we could finally put down roots and become farmers. They took on the tough job of guarding our livestock from predators, which allowed us to build lives as shepherds. They even teamed up with us out in the wild, tracking down their own prey right alongside us. And together, we grew into the most unstoppable hunters on the face of the earth. They handed over every single one of their natural gifts, just for us to use. Their unbelievable sense of smell, their raw, untamed power, their boundless stamina, and their incredibly sharp minds. They shadowed our every move, following us out of the wilderness and straight into our bustling modern cities. They became so tuned into us that they practically started reading our minds and feeling our deepest emotions. These days, they are standing guard by our cribs, watching over us, from the very beginning of life. They give our kids their very first hands-on lessons in what true friendship and unwavering loyalty actually look like. They pull us off the couch, making sure we get outside, crack a smile, and just remember how to play. They stand steadfast by our sides through the highest highs and the absolute lowest lows. They walk with us right into our golden years, chasing away the quiet loneliness and bringing comfort as we grow older. But this incredible, epic journey between humans and dogs, it is far from over. Our two species have only spent about 30,000 years writing this story together. It makes you wonder, what amazing things are we going to discover about each other next?